I've been thinking about and sort of bathing in, I've been thinking about the first chapter of Genesis, in the beginning. That beautiful poem, so full of the instant joy of creation, where the thought, the wish, and it was made. And God saw it, and it was good. Those were all one. Those were all at once. Creation. And this is the generous and abundant existence which is ours for our little while. It is so much more than I can understand. Praise God. That's the first chapter. And then in the second chapter begins a string of stories moving from the serpent to Adam and Eve being driven out of the garden to the first two children, Cain and Abel. You know how that goes. Somehow, the human creation at the end of that same week, and if you know the first chapter of Genesis, you know that God worked for 6 days to create all that is. And on the seventh day, he rested. But towards the end of that first chapter, towards the end of the sixth day, when he's been busy making animals and plants and all sorts of things, the very last thing he does at about 15 minutes before closing on the sixth day is he creates human beings. So if you feel not completely formed, you come by it honestly. But somehow, us, the human creation at the end of that week, contains some seed or streak or flaw or slant of evil, of violence. It is so much more than I can understand. Praise God. And that same paradox, generosity and abundance and violence, that same paradox holds for the rest of the Bible, in our lives, violence in word and deed. And I've been thinking about that and thinking about it, and by God, there was music in the air. Up above my head, well, it sort of came out of my memory. And the music that came to me is the song, "Last Night I Dreamed the Strangest Dream." You remember that one? It is the saddest and most hopeful song. I learned it here, and I associate it with Penny and Narissa. So this is a long wind-up, but the two of them are here, and I have a poem that starts out with the song and turns into a meditation. And I want to read it to you for the sermon. So the name of the song, of course, is "Last Night I Had the Strangest Dream." It was written by a man named Ed McCurdy, who's a folk singer. He wrote the song in 1950 or 51, and it has been recorded by many people in dozens and dozens and dozens of languages. And here are some of the lyrics. In our small church, our leader woke the piano, and then she sang your song, Ed. Last night I had the strangest dream I never dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. And when the papers all were signed and 1 million copies made, they all joined hands and bowed their heads, and grateful prayers were prayed. And the people in the streets below were dancing round and round, and guns and swords and uniforms were scattered on the ground. But God help me. Today, I say, if the world agreed to put an end to war, there are people out here who wouldn't be dancing round and round. Within the dream is real. Within my life is real. And I feel people raging to resist the end of war. I see them scurry among the circling dancers there to snatch the cast-off guns, and I can hear them chuckle, "Suckers," as they run. In a blank cherry tree worth a whole cord of firewood if I cut it down, on a bare branch, a small hawk has lit, and he tips down to rake the meadow with his eyes, the grass drying to its pale fall fire. He's ready for some mouse to move, some vole to breathe so deep her ribs move and her fur briefly ripples. He tips his head without moving his shoulders, without his tail adjusting to rudder him. And he's breathing less than mouse and blinking less than vole. Typing, I look down to find a key. The bird is gone. Was he feather and keratin? Or the spirit of no mercy? Rapt or rapacious? Why this tree, hawk? Because, in a hawk's thin, high voice, because your boots. Every April, foolishly, you put your winter boots away. True. Then come December, when you drag them out again. Are they not stuffed with wild cherry pits? Yeah. For a week each autumn, who stashed them cheek to cheek, until she rattled as she meandered across the drip line in a snatch of grass to a gap unchinked in your foundation. Then through the cellar, no rest for the rodent, and after sleepfall made her way to the bedroom closet, awaited a doldrum between snores, stowed the pits of the cherry stones in the big boots. Well, the answer has always been underfoot. This tree, this week, this hunter, these gatherers. So tell me, is it good that hawk be hawk, but not too many, because the mice are just cautious that much? Is it good that hawk be hawk and not die out because the little life forgets to look up just often enough. Mouse absorbed in mouse will die. Hawk absorbed in mouse will eat. And maybe both are dancing round and round. They do not mean, though they rhyme. They live without my mind. They are God, and it is good, bloody, and the way of the world, if you call that good. And the one who watches and wonders, what is good in blood? Are we God too? And those who didn't dance and wouldn't sing when we put an end to war, who saw that as the time to gather guns together. Opportunity. And the rest of us, the cost. I don't want an answer. I want into that dream, into that dance, to make it make the world go round. I don't pretend to understand Hawk, and I certainly don't pretend to be Vole. Don't imagine my heart could survive 300 to 800 beats a minute. Start doing the arithmetic, children. 3 or 4 breaths a second. Maybe their short life and mine are the same length in breaths, in beats. Well, forgive me, Hawk, for saying your glare was hate. You were just looking. And forgive me, field mice, for saying that you were in the right. You were exercising your right to see a world in a grain of sand and a whole life in the time it takes to eat. Hawk will kill, and hawk will fly. And mouse must scratch, and mouse must hide. But a man hides the world in his heart and can fly, kill, burrow, freeze in terror, flow in love, and yet part. And need beyond all needing, need beyond species, fight, flight, or season, need enough to swallow the sky. But you tell me why heaven isn't, perfect isn't, now isn't, pollution isn't, profit isn't enough. You tell me why. Thank you.